folks. Kim Whaley, Simple Politics, with my pal Tiger on the other side, here to help us today. Just finished watching the January 6th committee hearings for July 12th, and I want to focus on three things. Number one is, what's the new factual takeaway? And that has to do with a domestic terrorist organization called the Oath Keepers. You may have heard of it or not. They were there on January 6th. We heard from one of their top level officials from 2014 to 2018, and he testified about how it's a violent paramilitary organization, that it's the head of it is named Stuart Rhodes, and he's a Yale Law graduate. And he said, listen, he wants to be the head of a private militia roaming the streets with guns. That's the goal, and that's building. And there's another group called the Proud Boys that showed up that day. So we heard about how essentially the interests of Donald Trump in staying in power forcibly because the legal options didn't work, and Mike Pence refused to do something illegal. And we heard actually from Pat Cipollone, former White House counsel, who said that Mike Pence should get the Presidential Medal of Freedom for what he did. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I do agree he saved democracy on January 6th by refusing to ignore the electoral count vote. So we have Donald Trump saying, whoa, how do I stay in power? And then we have, through his pal Roger Stone, tight with the Oath Keepers, we have these Oath Keepers that are willing to use violence to forcibly to overthrow the government. They coalesced on January 6th. Now, we don't know how much direct communication there was between Donald Trump and the Oath Keepers, but we do know the White House and members of Congress and the Republican Party knew violence was coming. They knew it. So there was some meeting of the minds there, whether it's criminal liabilities up to Merrick Garland, but it's very serious. That's the news. Number two is, why does it matter? And for that, I suggest that you Google Jamie Raskin's closing statement, because he's also a constitutional law professor, but much more eloquent than I am. And he talked about how the framers warned us of Donald Trump. They warned us of despotism and authoritarianism, and that it's human nature to want to amass power. And he talks about Lincoln describing democracy as the silver frame with the golden apple in the middle, and that golden apple is liberty, which we take for granted. I mean, women just lost liberties with reproductive health with the Supreme Court recently in overturning Roe, but we have lots more liberties that many people on the globe do not have, and we're taking them for granted. I mean, if you've got a government that is willing to use violent extremists to stay in power, all other kinds of liberties are on the table. Your ability to speak, your ability to have a political opinion, your ability to exercise your religion, your ability to choose who to marry, your ability to walk outside your house and not worry there's going to be some private armed guard that's going to interrogate you. Now, if I'm scaring you, I'm sorry, but we are in the twilight, really, between now and November, where there's a few months left to turn this around. So what do you need to do? That's not my number three. What are my takeaways here? Become conscious of this. Talk to people about it. Put it on your plate, as painful as it is. Take a break, have a glass of wine, go for a run, take some deep breaths, meditate. But you have to come back to it, because your kids cannot vote. Your grandkids cannot vote. Only you can do this for them. And number two is, vote in November. The Washington Post has reported that there's 400 people that are big lie proponents, that are down for the lie so they can stay in power at whatever cost. So anti-democracy, pro-authoritarian type politicians that are on the ballot this term or next. So you can make a difference. Those folks need the heave-ho, my friends. They gotta go. So ponder that. Thanks for listening to me today. This is Simple Politics. I'll be back. I'm Kim Whaley.